Welcome to Reliability Matters, a podcast for the electronic assembly industry. Each episode covers topics related to reliability, best practices, and environmentally responsible assembly techniques, with insights from experts across the electronic assembly industry. Now, here's your host, Mike Conrad.
Welcome back to another episode of the Reliability Matters podcast. I'm Mike Conrad, your podcast host, and we are once again in beautiful sunny San Diego, California at the IPC Apex Expo. We are in the Global SMT booth. Thank you, Trevor Galbraith, for loaning me his comfortable chairs and studio, and more importantly, his talented team of professionals, Summer and David, who are pushing the buttons at all the right times to make this look as good as it could possibly look. My guest today is Mark. I did it again, Mark. Goodwin. You're sticking to that story.
I am sticking.
He's sticking to that story. Mark Goodwin, and he's from Ventec.
I am.
And I apologize. I've
cool.
too many people in this chair, too many names. Mark, Ventec is a manufacturer or supplier of laminate materials for the board fab industry. Now, we were talking before we came on camera. I'm in the assembly side of the business. You sell to the fabrication side of the business. One stop up the river from our stop. And it's interesting because as assemblers, we know nothing about how these boards are made. We know they're copper and some kind of fiberglass material, and that's about the extent of my knowledge, right? We just know that somehow miraculously storks deliver boards to our receiving department, and anything that goes wrong is probably your fault, right?
Oh,
it's bad laminate.
Everyone thinks
whatever
so
laminate
anyway.
is, right?
Yeah.
It's bad laminate.
Yeah.
One thing our industries do have in common is we're all fishing out of the same pond where there doesn't seem to be enough fish. And we'll call that a supply chain issue, right?
Yeah.
So in my world, I know what supply chain pains are like. In your world, you know what supply chain pains are like. Let's just talk about the supply chain. And when did it break? Why did it break? How do we avoid it breaking? What deals with God have we made to get over it? Which deals are we going to break the moment we're past it?
Yeah.
The whole scenario, right?
Okay.
And then we can play this interview again in 10 years and it will be just as relevant. Right?
Do it once, do it right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's just get this done and we'll just change the date.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, well, okay. I mean, the last couple of years, obviously, supply chains have been somewhat disastrous, not enough people, restrictions on movement, the crazy things that happen with everybody being locked down and having time on their hands to buy things online, so filling up containers, moving, shiploads of equipment, and and those of us wanting to move things in that, started having problems, shall we say.
Sure.
And in our business, that's whether you manufacture not in the US or even if you manufacture in the US, because all the supply chain starts somewhere else.
Exactly.
There is no real volume glass weaving.
It takes a village to make anything these days.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. And there's no, the raw materials for our products aren't here. So even if you're here making our products here, your supply chain starts somewhere else.
Right. So the whole concept is bring it back home, made in America, or made in Europe. It doesn't really work because nothing's all made there.
It'll work at some level.
At some level. But
I don't think it'll work at volume level anytime soon.
But you just need one missing part.
Correct.
Just need one missing part. The auto industry has tens of thousands of cars parked that are waiting for one chip.
Yeah.
And, it might be $100 chip, but they can't ship a $100,000 truck until they get this $100 chip.
Yeah, well, I mean, but they've also been selling vehicles, haven't they? And then retrofitting different components later to,
Exactly.
I guess, to keep the cash flowing.
Give you an IOU.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the pandemic obviously gave consumers nothing else to do but buy stuff. All the money that flowed into the economy as a result of trying to protect people, particularly in this country, the trillions of dollars that we threw and we just gave business. Please take money. People had nothing to do and extra income coming in, so they bought stuff, which created a demand.
Yeah.
At the same time, the factories were shutting down, unable to fill the demand.
Yeah.
And then probably through good intentions, but not well executed, I think pretty much every country thought the best thing to do would be to shut their economies down temporarily. 3 weeks.
That went well, didn't it?
That went well.
Yeah.
Like dog weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think if we learn anything, what we learn from history is we don't learn from history. But if we did take something away, it's if we ever make a decision again to shut down a global economy, I don't think we've ever, in the history of industry, from the time we were like chiseling rocks to make them look like wheels, right? I don't think we've ever shut down the entire world's economy. We've had localized shutdowns, Fukushima, terrorist attacks, earthquakes, natural disasters, shut small regions of the world down. And we feel that. That creates a ripple. But this was a whole world getting shut down. Then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're past it. Let's turn it back on. There has not been an experience of how to restart it.
And there's a whole raft of unintended consequences from that, and we're all experiencing them now and still experiencing them.
Exactly. I view it analogous to, you have 10 people standing in a circle. Each one makes something. And I say, okay, I'm going to turn on my factory now. So, Mark, I need your widget. You go, great.
Yeah.
Stan, I need your widget. Beth, I need your... And no one can make their widget until someone else makes their widget. And I think...
And even if they can, no one can ship the widget because all the containers
are full or all stacked up in one part of the world, coming back empty. Yeah. I mean, it was just a cluster of...
Don't go there. Don't go there.
You know what I mean? It was just this cluster of unfortunate events, all well-intended, that had unintended consequences. And I've heard all the, if you drink too much when I was young, you drink too much, you make deals with God. I promise I'll never do whatever. Until the hangover wears off and then you're back to I think a lot of the God deals I've heard are reshoring. We're going to reshore. And we're never going to let this happen again.
I think so. Again, I think some of it will happen, but I don't think it'll happen at the scale people think it will happen.
To prevent this from ever
happening. But the problem is, the further you go down the supply chain, the economics scale of manufacturing changes. So, I mean, copper foil guy needs a factory bigger than a laminate guy. A glass weaver needs a bigger factory still. A glass yarn producer needs bigger still. So you think all that's coming back? I think that's a big ask. I mean, maybe it happens. Maybe it does. I don't know. But it won't. I won't see it.
No. Nor will I.
But there's other consequences. So largely, people have stopped buying things now. They're back at work, and increasingly they're not working from home because guys are saying if you're not in the office at least Tuesday to Thursday, you might not have a job. So
you actually have to show up now.
No, you actually have to show up. And that's a unique concept for work, isn't it? But anyway,
yes.
But you think then all the logistics have gone away, but logistical problems have gone away. One thing's for sure, the price has come down, but there are still logistical problems because people are cancelling whole shipping routes now because they can't fill the capacity. And
what's worrying me is that if people think, okay, we're through it, we've figured it out and we fixed it, I don't think we fixed it. I think the stress of the supply chain and the economic cycle that we're in is just lowering the demand for the product.
Well, that's a really good call because one of my bugbears is copper foil is going to be in short supply, and it will continue to be in short supply. Just because everything's okay right now, doesn't mean everything's okay right now.
Just don't need it, and it'll be fine.
So, battery demand, thin copper foils, very thin copper foils, far faster to make than the copper foils.
And Elon's going to get in line before you.
Yeah, it could happen that way. Lower requirements for the manufacturing, no treatment on the back, easier to manufacture, faster to manufacture, good prices paid. All right, we'll have to figure that out. But one thing's for sure, we've got a lot of drivers towards heavy coppers right now through decarbonisation, green technologies, a lot of power, a lot of volts a lot of amps being moved around. Heavy copper foils. Now, heavy copper, I can tell you, right, okay, there's three elements to this. There's the LME copper price, which, by the way, in the last month has gone up by over $1,000 a ton. Okay?
What percentage does that represent?
10, 12, 13.
Sizable. Double digit.
Percentage. Yeah, it's double digits. And, the high was, 10 something last year, 18 months ago. We're heading there again for sure, in my opinion. So that's one element. Energy costs. At least 50% of the cost to produce copper foil is energy.
Yeah.
Okay? And then for heavy copper foils, what premium have I got to pay a guy to make to turn his production to heavy copper when he can get out X number of square meters of thinner copper from the same production.
Right. You still follow the money.
So people say to me, can we link the price to the market? Well, I can link the first two to the market. The third comes down to my relationships with my supply chain, and or not,
right?
And
or lack thereof, right?
and people's commercial interest, and their commercial interest. However good my relationship is, their commercial interest is going to interest them.
Sure, absolutely.
This is not over. There are a lot of pressures still there.
I think another contributing factor to the softening of the supply chain crisis is not the fact that it was fixed. It was companies like us. We're a small, relatively small company. We're a manufacturer of equipment. And we went from a just-in-time purchasing mentality to a just-in-case purchasing mentality.
Yeah.
Right? And our buyers, we were so blessed.
You end up, by the way, with fish stock control. First in, still here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're an aquarium now.
Yeah.
We have nothing but fish, right?
Yeah.
And we were very fortunate, very blessed that we were in a good cash position.
Yeah.
We instructed our buyers, look for it. If you find someone, buy a year's worth if you have a year's worth. Because we know it's a form of cash. We're just moving it from the liquid account to the shelf.
Absolutely.
And as long as it doesn't go bad, it doesn't have a sell-by date, we're going to use it. It's just we'll spend it later. So we are part of the supply chain problem because we have a couple $1 million in inventory. Our whole company has a couple $1 million in inventory. Normally we have.
And you're lucky if it's the right things. If it's the wrong things, it's even worse.
Then it's really bad. But it's the right stuff. But we're putting 300-400% more effort into purchasing, which is crazy. But we are finding parts, and we are able to score enough to last way more than we would ever purchase at one time in a normal world. So companies,
it's horribly inefficient, though, isn't it?
Horribly inefficient. We had to reorganize our factory. We had to build mezzanines just to store more inventory.
You have to count it. You have to manage it. You have to move it.
Yep.
You have to find it. You have to not damage it when you're doing those things.
You have to pay tax on it.
Yeah, you have to pay tax on it.
Yeah, if it's just sitting in cash in a bank, but anyway, that's the accountant's job to figure that out. But I know we're not the only company that's doing that, and as companies like us realize, okay, we don't need to really buy anything big for the next year.
Yeah,
it's going to start burning off our inventory because now we feel like we don't need another.
That's going to create financial pressure all the way back up the supply chain.
That's what happens. It's like playing racquetball. We're throwing a ball against the wall, and it's coming back at us. At almost the same velocity. Very little loss, and we're going to whack it back, and it's just going to keep going back and forth until it eventually runs out of steam. But and I know if we're just one company out of millions of companies, but I know that millions of companies at least think the way we do because you're in survival mode. So as these millions of companies say, okay, we're so stocked up now, crisis is over, and now the good news is we can tell our purchasing people to go on a holiday for 6 months. We don't need to buy anything. That's going to have that effect. And it gives us a false sense of security.
Bit of a problem in the laminate business, at least with one part of the business, which is prepreg, which has a shelf life.
Yeah, that is tricky. And there's certain parts of the business where Detroit wishes they could buy a $10 billion worth of chips and just stick them on a shelf. But even those chips, they don't technically have a shelf life, but they have a useful life. They have an obsolescence issue. So, it's just interesting.
And I think, on the chip thing's interesting as well. Okay, so people build big factories here, and there's a lot of design knowledge for chips in the US. Right. But is there really the manufacturing culture and experience of chips here now? And that doesn't come quickly. It doesn't come in 12 months.
You can't build a foundry for several $1 million in 6 months. It's a multi-year process. But billions of dollars.
And then bringing the people on stream, educating the people, getting the culture within there.
And from my understanding, I'm not an expert on the chip business, but
me neither. But
we are building a foundry somewhere in the United States. I want to say Texas, but I could be wrong. But it's not owned by an American company. It's a Taiwanese company building here. And it's like, well, that's nice. At least our people are working. The money's not staying here. It's going back to whatever country made the investment, as it should. But we're still not building here. And I think things like rare earth minerals, which are important to pretty much all electronics on the planet, both defensive electronics and consumer electronics, none of those are mined here. We shut down the mines because other people will do it cheaper. And now those other people that are doing it are not necessarily.
And we've still got, okay, so now we're talking about supply chain security, aren't we? And, but we want supply chain security, for sure. But not if it costs any more than the supply chain we've already got. Thank you very much.
Yes, we stand by our principles as much as our bank account will allow us to.
Exactly.
Right, and that's just kind of human nature.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Eve is still handing out apples, and
there's other things as well. You want to bring some of these processes back. I'm thinking in our business, treaters for putting resins onto glass fabric for making prepregs, for making laminates. I'm not so sure you get the environmental permits you need to build a treater here now.
Right.
Okay, certainly I don't think you would in California. You may in some other places, but I don't think you would. So you've got, on the one hand, you've got this political will to bring the supply chain back. On the other hand, you've got another political agenda driving in a different direction.
Completely different.
I don't know how that gets squared.
It's tug of war.
Yeah.
And usually the side to build doesn't win.
Yeah.
People are stronger on the other side because you have all these people pulling.
Yeah.
You have one group pulling for production, and you've got 20 groups pulling environmental and all these other things.
Absolutely.
We are completely out of time.
Cool.
So
it's fun.
It's been great, Mark.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining me. And to my audience, be sure and click, if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, be sure and click the subscribe button so you will be notified when a new episode comes. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, the Reliability Matters YouTube channel, click the subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified when new episodes are released. If you're watching this live, thanks for watching. If you're watching this later on the Reliability Matters channel, I'll see you again in 2 weeks. So once again, thanks for watching. Thanks to my friend Trevor and Summer and David for doing what they do. And we'll talk again soon.
Thanks for listening to the Reliability Matters podcast. Join us on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month for new episodes of Reliability Matters.